You signed the contract on a Tuesday afternoon. The pen felt heavier than it should have, and nobody told you that was the last normal day of your life. Here's what they show you: the Grammy stage, the sold-out arenas, the artist living in a Malibu house with floor-to-ceiling glass overlooking the Pacific. Here's what they don't show you: the 360 deal that owns your name, your face, your sound, and legally, in some cases, your silence. The music industry doesn't discover talent. It purchases futures. And it's very, very good at making you feel like the transaction was your idea. Keep watching, because by the end of this, you'll never hear a pop song the same way again. You grew up with music the way other people grow up with religion. It was the first thing in the morning and the last thing at night. You had a cheap acoustic guitar with a crack along the body that you fixed with wood, glue, and stubbornness. You played in your bedroom with the door closed. Not because you were embarrassed, but because those songs were yours. They were the only place where everything made sense. The lyrics weren't for anyone else yet. They were confessions. They were the version of yourself that you hadn't figured out how to say out loud. Your friends knew you as the one who played at house parties, at graduation ceremonies, at that one open mic night where someone in the back recorded you on their phone and said, quote, "You need to do something with this." You had a job that paid the rent, customer service, retail, something that left your hands free at night to play. You came home to a small apartment, a second-hand couch, a cat, or a plant, or just silence. And that silence was okay. That silence had texture. You filled it. You had something most people quietly wish for and never admit. You had a reason to get up. The email arrives on a Wednesday at 11:47 p.m. You read it 3 times. You put down your phone. You pick it up again. An A&R rep from a mid-size label, not major, but real, but legitimate, but connected, has heard your SoundCloud, has shared it internally, wants to set up a call. The subject line says, "Regarding your music, and your hands are doing something strange, something between trembling and reaching." The call happens 4 days later. The voice on the other end is warm, professional, practiced. They use your first name 6 times in the first 2 minutes. They say things like, "Your sound is exactly what we've been looking for," and "We see a real lane for you here," and "We want to build something together." That word, together, lands in your chest like a key fitting a lock you didn't know was there. You tell your mother that night. She cries quietly in the way she does when she's proud and scared at the same time. The first meeting is in a glass building with very good coffee and very expensive chairs. Everyone smiles. The A&R rep walks you through the vision. The marketing deck has your face on a slide. Your face on a slide. In a glass building. And somewhere, very deep, beneath the excitement and the disbelief and the gratitude, something small and animal in you notices that no one in this room has asked you a single question about what you actually want to make. You ignore it. You sign. The first month feels like flying. They book you studio time with a producer who has credits you've listened to for years. The studio smells like soundproofing foam and takeout containers and expensive equipment. You record for 3 days straight. You sleep on the couch in the lounge. You call it dedication. You don't yet have a word for what the label calls it internally. Output. Your friends text constantly. Everyone wants tickets to the show that hasn't been announced yet, passes to the event that hasn't been planned yet, a piece of the thing you haven't built yet. A girl you barely spoke to in high school messages you on Instagram. Your cousin who never came to a single open mic suddenly says he always believed in you. The attention feels warm. It feels like confirmation. You will spend the next 18 months learning that attention is not the same as love, and that by the time you understand the difference, the people who actually loved you will have quietly stopped calling. Because here's the thing about sudden visibility. It doesn't just attract new people. It reveals old ones. And some of the people who said they were proud of you, what they were actually proud of was proximity to something they thought was going somewhere. The moment your trajectory becomes uncertain, they will not say they're leaving. They'll just go quiet. And you'll stare at your phone at 2 a.m. in a hotel room in a city you don't recognize, and you'll realize that your contact list grew by 200 people, and somehow you have never felt more unreachable. Your identity starts shifting in ways you can't name yet. You used to be the person who made music. Now you are the music. Or rather, the version of the music the label decided to present. In your second month, the A&R rep gently suggests that 2 of the songs you're most proud of don't fit the rollout. You nod. You say you understand. You go back to the hotel and you sit on the floor for a while without doing anything in particular. Your friends say you seem different. You say you're just tired. By month 3, you stop going to the sessions with your acoustic guitar. They don't ask for it. Nobody bans it. It just becomes clear in the way that things become clear without being said that the acoustic songs, the confessional ones, the ones about your grandmother and the apartment and the broken guitar and the silence that had texture, are not the product. You are working on the product. The product needs a co-writer, a vocal coach, a social media strategy, and a sound that can be described in 2 words to a playlist curator at a streaming company. You are building something that can be explained quickly, and things that can be explained quickly are rarely the things that kept you up at night. You are now suspended between 2 worlds, and you belong to neither. Your old friends are still in the apartment life, the customer service job, the small consistent dailiness of a life that makes sense. When you visit, and you visit less and less, you feel the gap not in what you say, but in what you can't say. You can't explain what it's like to have people photographed on your behalf without your permission. You can't explain the thing that happened with the mixing engineer. You can't explain why you've been asked to consider changing the way you dress. So you smile and say it's going well, and they say you seem different, and you say you're just tired. The new world, the industry world, is equally foreign, but in the opposite direction. These people have seen too much. They've watched 100 versions of you sit in that chair. They're warm but clocked. Their compliments are real and also tactical. You go to industry events and everyone is performing warmth and you're performing confidence, and somewhere in the room, the actual human beings are hiding behind their own press photos. You meet an artist you've admired for 8 years. They look exhausted in a specific way. Not tired, not overworked, but hollowed. Like someone took the interior out and left the shape. You don't think about it too long. You think about it every day. And then there is the paranoia. Not dramatic, not sudden. Creeping. You start reading your own press and looking for the version of you they're constructing. You start wondering if the compliment from your manager is strategic. You start rereading emails looking for the sentence between the sentences. Your old instinct, the bedroom, the door closed, the songs that were only yours, was built on trust. You trusted yourself. You trusted the silence. Now every room has a ceiling, and every conversation has a subtext, and you have not been alone, truly alone, in 4 months, and yet loneliness has become the loudest sound in your life. Here is what nobody puts in the press release. The standard recording contract, according to a 2019 report from the Music Artists Coalition, can lock an artist into an obligation to deliver 3 to 6 albums, on the label's timeline, on the label's terms, with the artist paying back every single production cost out of their own royalties before they see $1 of profit. This is called recoupment. The label fronts the money. The artist repays it with their earnings. The label takes their percentage regardless. You can sell 1 million records and still be in debt to the people who sold them. Here's what that looks like in practice. You have heard of artists who went platinum. Not hypothetically, actually platinum. Millions of streams, sold-out tours, and then discovered they owed their label hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because the music videos were expensive. Because the marketing campaign was expensive. Because the hotel rooms were expensive. Because the expensive studio with the expensive producer and the expensive co-writer were all advances, not gifts. And all of it comes out of your share first. The streaming numbers hit different once you understand the math. The average per stream payout from Spotify sits somewhere around 0.003 to 0.005. Auto. You need approximately 250,000 streams to make $1,000. Then you split that with your label. Then you repay your advance. Then if there's anything left, you and your lawyer and your manager split the remainder. A song with 1 million streams, the kind of song that makes your family say, "You must be doing so well," might net you personally somewhere between $500 and $1,500, depending on your deal, depending on the split, depending on a contract that was written by people who do this for a living and presented to you when you were too excited to read the footnotes. And then there's the 360 deal. The full name is the 360-degree deal, and it means the label takes a percentage not just of your music, but of your touring, your merchandise, your endorsements, your acting work, your brand partnerships, your licensing, and in some contracts, even your social media revenue. They invested in you. Now they participate in everything you. The deal became dominant in the mid-2000s when labels started losing money on digital downloads and needed new revenue streams. You became the revenue stream. Prince changed his name to an unpronounceable symbol in 1993 to protest his label's ownership over his identity. He called himself a slave. The music industry took that as a PR problem, not a structural one. A study published by the Tricordist found that independent artists on direct licensing deals earn up to 17 times more per stream than artists on major label deals. 17 times. The difference between a livable income and a debt spiral. You were not told this number before you signed. You were told about the vision. There is a specific moment, you'll know it when it comes, when the math finally becomes personal. You're sitting in a meeting, maybe 6 months in, maybe 8, and someone is presenting your streaming numbers. The numbers are good. By any reasonable measure, the numbers are very good. People in the room are smiling. Your A&R rep nods in that particular way that means the label is pleased, and being pleased by the label feels, for a moment, like being loved by a parent. And then a number comes up, a different number, and it takes you a second to parse it. It's the recoupment figure, the running total of what you owe back before you see profit. And you do the calculation, quietly, in your head, while people continue talking around you. The number is not catastrophic. It is not dramatic. It is simply, clearly, mathematically, going to take you approximately 3 more album cycles to be free of it. And by then, the contract will have renewed, and the cycle will start again. You don't say anything. You have learned by now to not say anything in rooms like this. What lands in that moment is not anger, not grief, not even surprise. It is something closer to recognition. You recognize the shape of the thing you're inside. You have been a creative person trying to make art inside a machine optimized for intellectual property extraction. The machine is not cruel. It doesn't hate you. It simply doesn't know you're there. The contract doesn't know your grandmother's name. The playlist algorithm doesn't know which song you wrote at 3 a.m. after the worst year of your life. The quarterly earnings report does not distinguish between your voice and a sound file. The system didn't fail. It worked exactly as designed, just not for you. And here is the deeper thing. The thing under the thing. You chose this, fully, eagerly, with trembling hands and a mother who cried quietly with pride. And the choice was real. The desire was real. The belief that this machine would carry your voice further than you could carry it alone, that was also real. What nobody tells you is that the machine will carry your voice. It will carry it very far. It will carry it to places you could not have imagined from that small apartment with the second-hand couch. And somewhere in the distance, your voice will arrive without you in it. The music will play. Your name will be on it. And none of it will feel like yours anymore. That is not a tragedy the industry caused. It is a tragedy the industry counts on. Because artists who feel voiceless keep working, keep producing, keep feeding the machine more content, desperate to find the one song that finally sounds like them again. The hustle and the heartbreak are not obstacles to the business model. They are the business model. You are not the first. You will not remember all their names. But they are there, if you look. TLC, 3 of the most successful women in 90s music, filed for bankruptcy in 1995 while their album was certified triple platinum. Toni Braxton filed for bankruptcy twice. Once in 1998, after her debut album sold 40 million copies. Once in 2010. Tamar Braxton said in an interview that her sister's first contract paid her less than someone at a minimum wage retail job. Kesha spent years in a legal battle trying to exit a contract she described as a trap, and the courts ruled that a contract is a contract. The law did not care what she lost inside it. This is not a list of failures. These are people with massive, verifiable, documented success, the kind of success that was supposed to mean you'd never have to worry again. And the system took it, not through theft, not through violence, through paperwork, through small print, through a business model so normalized that the people who should be outraged have already accepted it as the price of admission. The price of admission. You walked through that door with your voice and your hunger and your trembling hands. Nobody told you to read the fine print because everyone around you was too busy celebrating the fact that you got in. You still make music. That part didn't die. Maybe it's the only part that couldn't be recouped. You make it differently now. Quieter, more careful, with a knowledge you couldn't have had before. A knowledge that sits behind every chord like a second shadow. You understand now what you were selling, and what you were keeping, and where the line was. And you understand that you didn't draw it in time. But you draw it now. There are more people like you than you were ever told. There is a whole world of artists who went in with everything and came out understanding the geometry of the trap. Some of them stayed inside it. Some of them found a way out. Through independent releases, through direct-to-fan models, through the slow, unglamorous work of owning what you make. Some of them are still sitting in glass buildings with very good coffee, nodding in meetings, learning not to say anything. The music that changes your life is made by a human being who sat alone in a room and told the truth. What that human being got paid for it is a different story entirely, and the industry has always known the difference between those two things. You just didn't. You gave them your voice. You gave them your image. You gave them the copyright to the years of your life that you will never get back, in exchange for the chance, not the guarantee, the chance, to be heard. The music reached people. That part was real. But nobody tells you that between the song and the listener, there is a machine that took its cut first, from your royalties, from your identity, from the quiet room where the song was born. The industry doesn't break artists. It just makes them forget what they sounded like before it found them.